Austin is out tonight. Annual organizational meetings comes first here. So we are doing the discussion of organizational opportunities. First one is Resolution 2024-07, official newspaper and depositories and auditors are listed. Anybody can vote on it, whenever you're ready. No rush.
Cummings will make
That
that
girl.
motion to approve the resolution 2024-07.
Charles will second.
And now I like to say one cool. Motion by Cummings, second by Cool to approve resolution 2024-07. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, election of council president. This is just a nomination process, so it's a first and a second, and if there's somebody else wants to do a first and a second to somebody else, you can do that too, but this is all on you.
Cool motions or nominates Thomas for council president.
Cummings will second.
Motion by Cool, second by Cummings to nominate Thomas. Do I have any other nominations? I think I gotta do this 3 times.
Yes.
Any other nominations? Final call. Any other nominations? All right. All in favor of Tim Thomas as council president? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Attaboy. Congratulations. All right, so resolution 2024-06 are the mayoral appointments. You will see there's a couple of vacancies that's been out there forever. Zoning appeals basically never meets, but if it does, you know, we can get a couple of more people added to that. The cable board, we will be talking about that probably next month. Laura had sent us an email. A couple of years ago, I had suggested that we reduce it just because things have been pretty stable in the cable, really don't need 5 people. What?
Stable in the cable.
Stable in the cable, oh, funny, okay, sorry. Stable in the cable. Anyway, so we'll be looking at that, and then I can bring that back, so at the moment, that vacancy can be there, but we'll probably reduce this down. So we'll leave that be, so if there are any other questions, otherwise it requires council approval as well.
Cummings will make a motion to approve the resolution 2024-06.
Charles will second.
Motion by Cummings, second by Cool to approve the council confirmation appointments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2024-08, these are the fire department appointments. These are the incoming and outgoing people in the volunteers.
Cummings make a motion to approve the water and fire department appointments.
Cummings will second.
Motion by Thomas, second by Cummings to approve the resolution 2024-08, confirmation of the fire department. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will adjourn the annual meeting. I don't think I have to have a motion to adjourn, do we? I don't think so. All right, moving on. Regular scheduled city council business. Meeting minutes approval of April 4th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Who makes a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 4th?
Griffin second.
Motion by Cool, second by Griffin to approve the meeting minutes of April 4th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Citizen input or public comment for anything not on the agenda. Yes, Maureen?
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. It's been brought to my attention, there are 2 road intersections of my concern, and you've heard me speak of them before, so please bear with me, because I think they need refreshing look. The first one is the downtown Four Corners. In March of 2022, Noelle Reynolds and I appeared before the Health and Safety Commission. She can't make it this evening. And we met because in 2022, in March or February, or one of them there, end of March, I think, or end of February, a student was hit at the Four Corners. And we were very concerned
No,
about it.
I'm gonna correct you on that before you go any further, because that's not correct.
Pardon?
The student hit the car didn't hit the student. I just wanna make it clear how the accident
Okay,
happened,
thank you.
okay? Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I thought when a student or a person steps off the curb, they have the right of way, but apparently not. Anyway, the
No,
person,
they
that is true.
absolutely do.
they do?
He went into oncoming traffic. Traffic was already
Oh,
through the
okay.
intersection.
All right.
New
She
scene
went-
50 or 27 was here. I had to interview
Well,
it.
anyway, the emergency vehicle was
Correct.
called, et cetera.
Correct.
And a lot of people in Waterloo were concerned about this Four Corners intersection.
Yes, there was an awful lot of
And
misinformation.
we also, I believe I have 3 minutes.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. We were concerned, and we talked to the Health and Safety Commission, and Police Chief Sorensen and Tim Thomas, Chair of the commission, reassured us that DOT had no problems with that intersection. It is safe. We expressed interest in either a signal that was timed for cars to go through, or red, green, and yellow stoplights, et cetera, et cetera.
Which they did not.
It was reassured that it is a safe intersection.
Mhm.
That was 2022. Now we have 2024, and I have heard that the mayor and staff did contact IE section 62 or 92, whatever it was, that the mayor has the power to contact the DOT for that intersection. There was some concern, and I don't know what it was, but you did, or they were contacted. In process of that contact, the stop sign in Northman Road was moved inward and.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
No, it wasn't.
Was dug up somehow and moved.
It's called a light. We put in a light.
Oh, well, you put
Because
in
it was,
more light.
that's the biggest complaint people had, it was dark. Because the way the DOT designed it, we didn't have a light on that corner.
Oh,
So all we
okay.
did is we took the stop sign out and put the light, we put a new light pole on it.
So you had to take the whole stoplight out to put the light in though, huh? Or
The stop,
the stop,
no, everything stayed where it was. So the stop sign is now a light pole with still the stop sign on it.
oh,
All we did is added a light. It matches the exact
Okay.
same thing on West Madison
All right.
Street in front of Hartwig's
well,
building.
I was working with Steve at the restaurant to be, and there was construction dug up on that road to put it in or whatever. So something was done, and as you.
We just said what it was. It's a
previous-
light pole, yeah.
I'd like to continue.
You go right ahead.
Thank you. And also you added, or they added better lighting.
Mhm.
And I found that rather interesting because 2022, everything was hunky-dory. Nothing could be changed. So I am wondering, in the future, if the citizens, including myself, have a problem with that intersection, should I go to the Health and Safety Commission, like I have been told, that is protocol?
Mhm.
Or should I contact DOT? Now, that is a big concern of mine because the other day I was parked in front of the restaurant, which I have been helping with, and it was 3:30 and I was getting ready to leave, and lo and behold, there was a line of traffic all the way back to the school. Finally, somebody did have the courtesy to let me out, and that was wonderful. But I still think there is a problem there, but so be it. But I'm just telling you that the action taken by the mayor and staff, I would like it on record sometime. I didn't see it in any minutes, what day it was, whom you contacted, and you certainly have regarding that section in the statutes to do that. But if you can do that, I'm wondering if other people can do that too. But be that as it may, I want that sent to me the day that you did that and whom you contacted, just for record keeping. I keep the records of history. History is documentation. Everything has to be documented.
You have 1
from
minute,
the
Marie.
city. Another interesting area is McKay Way. You have heard the three of us, the other Don couldn't make it. Don is here this evening.
One of them.
And the other person was myself. And we talked about McKay Way being a truck route. Well, my goodness, the other day, I happened to see truck route. We have over 100 new residents. We have apartments, duplexes, single houses, which we talked about it years ago.
Right.
And I thought it was a soft agreement, but again, possibly no documentation.
We had a
that
meeting
it would
on
not-
that. There
It would
absolutely
not
was a
be
meeting.
a truck route.
No, it never, ever was changed
Okay,
from
well,
that.
let me finish, please.
Well, Maureen, your time is up.
All
So
right.
this
Well,
is
that
already
is-
old news and we've already done all of this.
All
If you
right.
wanna come in and look
Thank
at
you.
minutes, you can look it up.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
hope you can do
All right.
something about that. Thank you.
Did you wanna talk, Don? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I
Certainly.
just wanted to comment on the McKay Way, and it's more of an awareness, and that is that I have seen the truck speeds have been increasing recently. So I don't know if there's, in the past, you put the
Speed work.
the speed, yeah. Consider something like that, they've gotten a little bit faster than.
Funny you should bring up the speed board. We just talked about that. It's gotta get fixed. No, your timing's
The other-
perfect.
The other thing is, I just wanted to, put the general plug in there, something we talked about in the past, and that's extending sidewalks in different parts of the city. There's a part on, where's it, Highway 89, there's the part near your place.
Come here in
So-
2 weeks. We have bid opening. That's in
Those are
there.
Is that the one
Yeah.
that's posted on the?
It's in, if you look in the paper, because it was published in the paper about,
Oh, okay.
setting out for the bids, and it says right in there, all
I
the
didn't look
sidewalks.
at the paper, I look at the website.
It was a couple weeks ago it was in the
All
paper.
right, well.
But yes,
Yeah.
it's
do I
part of
get
this
my minute
project.
back? You've already covered it.
Yes. Do
Thank you.
you have something to say, Chad?
All I was gonna say is if Don wants to look at a set of plans in the city hall's office.
Yeah, those 2 sections are being added.
Excellent.
I think that's been identified for a while.
Yes.
It's very important.
Along with other sidewalks.
Yep.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Old business, this really isn't, well, okay, well, it's public comment, I just wanted to read this real quick. Joel Zabel, sent this to, the mayor, city council, and city staff, just thanking, the mayor and members of the council for recognizing his years of service at the library, and, that it was just greatly appreciated. He says, during my employment at both, I've had benefits and privileges of interacting with several mayors, council members, and city staff. I mean this sincerely when I say each has aided me in my library responsibilities, as well as helping me learn budgeting, planning, and working with individuals. So it was just a nice letter. I just wanted to share it with everybody. I forgot to do it last month. All right, new business, 2023 audit. You are up.
Thank you. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Justin Hoagland. I'm a senior manager at Baker Tilly, and I run the city side of your audit. We do have a different team that does the utility side, who specialize in utilities, so they do the Water and Light Commission. And so we did issue your financial statements in final on Monday. And so around this time of year, after we issue the financial statements, I just like to come give a brief presentation, kind of go over quickly the reports that we issue, as well as some financial highlights for 2023. So feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions or if you want to ask after, that's fine as well. The first report I just wanted to talk about looks like this. It's reporting and insights from the 2023 audit. So this has a bunch of different information in it. It has, describes our responsibilities as your auditors. It goes over any other recommendations or internal control type points that we found as part of the audit. I will say there are a number of internal control points They're very similar to prior years, and a lot of them relate to segregation of duties, because you only have, a couple people in your accounting department. Segregation of duties or tasks can only be so good. And so they're very common points for other municipalities your size. We see them a lot. Again, likely not worth the city hiring a whole other person just to clear a couple points on this report. So again, there's no, large concern with those points. They are very common. Again, it has any material entries that we found as part of the audit. It has my contact information in it. If you need to get a hold of me, feel free to reach out to me at any point during the year. And then it has just some other required communication that we need to give those charged with governance. So a lot of good information in this report. The other report that we issue is the financial statements themselves. So probably the most important part is pages 1 through 3, which is our opinion. So we do give a clean or unmodified opinion on your financial statements. That's similar to prior years, and the highest level of assurance that we can give. So that's all good from that standpoint. So next, I wanted to go over some of the financial highlights for 2023. And so that document looks like this. It's got some graphs, charts. For those of you that have been here for a couple years, it'll look very similar to prior years. But if you flip to page 1, so I always say, a good place to start when you're assessing the financial health of a municipality is this general fund. This is where most of the day-to-day transactions run through. And specifically, I like to look at the fund balance, or as most people know it as, the equity that's kind of built up over the years. And so you'll see at the top of page 1, there's a bar chart that shows what your equity or fund balance levels are at. The 2022 is what the black is the 2022. The light blue, if you have color copies, are what the levels are for 2023. And so there's different buckets or types of fund balance. They're defined at the bottom of this page. I'll go over them, really briefly here. Kind of starting at the bottom, you have some non-spendable fund balance. It's called non-spendable because it's not in spendable form. So I think that, you can see 14,691 of non-spendable at the end of the year. I think that almost all relates to prepaids, so it's likely insurance. You pay for it in December for 2024. It doesn't show up as an expense though until 2024. So it's non-spendable since you've already spent it. It just hasn't shown up as an expense yet. Kind of going up then, you can see you have 287,000 that is shown as assigned fund balance. And so the council can assign fund balance for whatever you want, capital projects in the future, equipment, etc. And so that's everything that would then fall under the assigned category. And so page 44 of your financials, if you want to see more details of what makes up these balances, page 44 would show that detail. And then above that's the unassigned, right? This is what's left over. It has no restrictions on it or anything like that. You will see it increase substantially from last year. And the reason for that is because you had a large net income in the general fund for 2023. And so under the chart there, you can see the summarized income statement. And this is a super high level budget to actual of your general fund. And you can kind of see here, for the final budget, the city was expecting to use up about $39,000 of your fund balance. But the actual results was that you had a net income of $321,000. So you did $361,000 better than budgeted for 2023 in the general fund. So that's really good, and there's a couple main reasons for that. You'll see the revenues were better than budgeted by $267,000. And $210,000 of that is because your investment income was $210,000 better than budgeted, right? We had a huge increase in rates. Instead of getting 0.5% on your checking CDs, you're getting 5-6%. So we see that at every municipality so far, where you obviously weren't going to budget for that, you didn't know that was going to happen. And so they're seeing these large increases in investment income. So again, that was 210,000 of that increase alone. And then your expenditures were about $93,000 better than budget. And about 100,000 of that relates to the police department, being under budget because you had vacancies within that department. So those are the two main reasons that you had such a large net income for 2023. So moving on to the next page. So one ratio, again, this relates to the fund balance in the general fund, and one ratio we like to calculate is we take that unassigned and assigned fund balance, the stuff that's not restricted, divided by your total expenditures in the general fund. Essentially, it comes out, you can see the red is the city, and in 2023, that ratio calculated to 80%, which is about 9.5 months. So it's essentially saying, you know, how long could you survive and keep paying your bills if you had no revenues coming in? And again, that calculates out to about 9.5 months. The blue dots are other municipalities your size in Wisconsin, and so you're a pretty good chunk above what the average is for other municipalities. So that's great to see. I will note that the city does have a fund balance policy. The policy says that using just the unassigned fund balance, again, the ratio I calculated is unassigned and assigned. Your policy just calculates unassigned, says that you want that ratio to be 25 to 33%, and you're actually about 67%. So you're well above what that fund balance policy says. Again, it's great to be above it. I have plenty of clients that are below it. They have to cut services and whatnot. So it's great to be above it. Again, the city can assign fund balance and change this ratio if you know that you have capital projects that are coming up. I know there's large street projects coming up and whatnot. So again, you could always say, we're gonna assign $1 million to future infrastructure projects, so we know what's gonna happen, and we'll have that money sitting there. We don't have to borrow for it then at that point. Again, those are some of the powers that the city has to assign it. I also have a client that has a very similar policy. What they say is, at the end of the year, once the audit's close to being done, we know there's not gonna be any more entries. We're gonna keep 33% in unassigned, and we automatically put the rest into an infrastructure improvement fund, and we assign it. And so that's how they kind of stay within their policy every year. And again, they have that money there for infrastructure or whatever they else want to use it on. They don't have to borrow then using those funds. So that is one way if there's any concern about this being a high percentage to kind of get around that.
Yeah, we talked about that at finance, and we shared your email on that, so we'll definitely be having that conversation.
Appreciate
Thank you for that,
suggestion.
yeah.
Yep, so the next page focuses around the debt. Again, another important kind of factor when assessing the financial health of municipality. So this line chart is comparing what your statutory debt limit is. So you can take up to 5% of your equalized value out in general obligation debt. Again, per state statutes, that's the black line. The red line is how much actual general obligation debt the city has outstanding. You can see there's quite a bit of gap between the two, which is great. At the end of the year, the city has essentially used up 25% of your debt capacity. I would say that's pretty average. You know, a lot of times it's between 25-30% that's getting used up. You know, once municipalities start to get over the 50% used up, that's when it starts to get a little more concerning. So you guys are at a good percentage for that. The next page, again, focuses around debt. And so one ratio we like to calculate is we take what were your debt service payments for 2023 compared to all of your normal routine expenses. And so you can see that it calculates out to 13.7% for 2023. So that's saying of your normal routine expenses, 13.7% of those had to go to pay off debt service, right? Because if you're using it for debt service, you can't use it for new truck, roads, whatever. So it's been going down each year, which is good. And you're also very comparable to other municipalities your size. Again, those are the black dots. So you're right in line with how much other people are devoting to debt service. So again, as far as debt's concerned, it's definitely in a healthy spot. One other thing I wanted to mention on the city side is, so the city received ARPA funding, whatever it was now, 3 years ago.
Yep.
Got one tranche of it, the other tranche came a year later. And so you do have about $174,000 of ARPA funds left in the US Treasury. Those need to be spent by the end of 2024, otherwise they could potentially claw it back. It has to be spent, or I will say, or obligated. Obligated means you have to have a signed contract in place. If you're gonna use this money for a road, you have to have a signed contract with the road company before the end of the year. So again, it's a good amount of money, but it can be spent on almost anything. There's hardly any restrictions on it. You can't use it to pay off debt service and a couple other things that wouldn't apply to the city, but you can use it for salaries, infrastructure, any capital equipment, and capital projects. There really isn't much of a limitation, so just make sure it gets spent, so you don't have to pay it back.
We too had that conversation.
That's good.
Yeah.
So next, I just want to briefly go over the utility results. So the Water and Light Commission. So this first page is the commission as a whole, but it's really broken down into 3 utilities. So that the page after this will show you the operating results for the electric utility, the water, and the sewer in more detail. But I'm just gonna talk about the commission as a whole. So you'll see at the top, we have the operating results. The green lines are operating revenues. The black line is your operating expenses. You can see that the green line's higher than the black line, so that's good. You have more operating revenues than expenses. These should be self-sufficient funds, meaning that the rates that are being charged are covering your expenses, so that's good to see. You'll see that operating revenues did increase from last year. A large portion of that is because there was, for water and sewer, there were rate increases that happened during 2023. Below the operating results table, you'll see the unrestricted reserves. So we always like to calculate, kind of what I talked about before, how many months of cash on hand do you have, again, to kind of pay those bills if something were to happen. For 2023, you can see it's about 2.39 months of cash on hand of unrestricted reserves. That's increased the last 2 years, so again, that's good to see. Under that is your debt coverage. So the utility has revenue debt outstanding. Within that debt, there's certain covenants saying that they have to meet this debt coverage ratio, which is 1.25. Essentially, it's saying the people that hold your debt want to make sure that you're having enough income to pay off like 1.25 times what the debt service is going to be next year, because they want to make sure you have enough money, otherwise they can call the debt. And so you'll see, again, that ratio is 1.25 minimum. You're at 3.63 at the end of 2023. So you easily met that debt coverage ratio, and you have met it the last 5 years that we're showing here. If you're ever wondering exactly how that's calculated, page 42 of the financials shows a detail of how that gets calculated. Lastly, at the bottom shows the investment in capital. So these are very capital intensive funds, right? You got piping, wastewater treatment plant, everything. There's a lot of capital assets in these funds. So we'd like to see, of those capital assets, how much is still financed by debt versus how much is equity or not debt backed. And so you can see at the end of the year, you're about 50-50 financed by debt and finance or equity at the end of the year. At the end of 2022, that debt percentage was 38%, so it has increased a decent amount, which is expected because debt was taken out for the wastewater treatment plant project that's going on. And given, the current age of the systems and everything, that 50-50 split is well within industry standards, so again, nothing concerning there.
What was it in 2022, did you say?
I had 38%
Okay.
written down. So that's really the financial highlights that I wanted to go over. Are there any questions you want to ask me?
Compared to other cities, how are we doing?
I think a lot of the different graphs and stuff that I've gone over, the general fund, unassigned fund balance, how much above you are, kind of compared to other municipalities, your debt's right in line. So I would say, in general, you're at or above kind of financially where other municipalities are, your size.
Anybody else have any questions? There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin.
All right, now, council notice, publishing the weed ordinance. So this just literally gets published like in the paper and hung up and stuff?
It gets hung up.
Yeah, all right. So, it's weed time. Chad is the weed commissioner. So that's just a notice, letting you know. All right. Creeping Charlie. Can't be having that. Meeting summary since last council. Cable board, I think that is in the packet, all kinds of stuff about the
Yeah,
cable
it's
in
down
there.
below.
What's that?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of information on the cable in your packet. CDA, Charlie, were you there? 416?
Yes, we discussed, it's more of a philosophical question on the downtown area and what we can do to help facilitate some improvement down there. That's the bid district, that actually is technically what it's called. We reviewed the financials, and, that's about it. That pretty much covers it.
Still a work in process.
Pretty much, yes.
Sounds good, thank you. Finance was tonight, Tim?
We just heard that part of what the finance meeting was about, a big chunk of what finance was the audit and the discussion of the ARPA funds. We also discussed carryover financial approvals, which I do believe is later on in the council packet. I had a lot of discussion of the fire department and received a radio payment update concerning the town of Waterloo.
That is fantastic, all good stuff. All right, in your packet are the March reports and the consent agenda items. If you have any questions, otherwise it just requires approval.
Mayor, was it announced at the last council meeting about the park, the carousel being fixed?
No?
Well, I heard that April 24th, 25th, and 26th. I believe they're coming the 24th to fix the historic carousel, and it might take 3 days.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else, or it just requires approval?
Cool, make a motion to accept the consent agenda items.
Wait, one second.
Motion by Cool, second by Ware to approve the March consent agenda items. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, recommendations of the boards, committees, and commissions, finance, insurance, and personnel, the March statements. Tim?
And Thomas make a motion to approve the March 2024 financial statements, general disbursements in the amount of $240,977.91. Payroll in the amount of $88,327.18. And the clerk and treasurer's reports, which are on file in the city clerk's office.
Wait, one second.
Motion by Thomas, second by Wyatt to approve the financial statements as stated. Roll call.
Cummings, yes.
Cool, yes.
Yes.
Thomas, yes.
Where, yes.
Oswald, yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 2024-04 are one of, sometimes two, carry over in different financial reports. Tim?
It should be in the back of your packet, you should have the resolution on the financial carryover approvals. These are done after the audit is completed, and it is the various funds that have, that are carried over to 2024. Again, we do this annually, and a couple times a year, actually.
Do you want to mention the Garmin one, just in case anybody pays attention?
Okay, as it was pointed out, there is one that we have not had in the past, and that was the Garmin Memorial Donation Fund in the amount of $64,769. That was a carryover for the library.
It's a new account, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-04.
Cummings, the second.
Motion by Thomas, second by Cummings to approve resolution 2024-04 carryovers. Roll call.
Cummings, yes.
Cool, yes.
Griffin, yes.
Thomas, yes.
Where, yes.
Oswald, yes.
Motion carried. Public safety and health burn permit. Tim?
This comes from the fire department. We requested the ordinance concerning burning regulations be amended. In reference to burning permits, this ordinance removes the requirement for the annual burning permit, except for a one-time inspection fee for a new permanent installation. This would not be a temporary fire pit or one of those on wheels, something like that. It would be a permanent installation. Wes, you have anything you want to say on that?
No, there is no fee.
Yeah, there's
no fee.
We want to inspect it,
Sure.
There is no
met door measurements and be done.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
And that's just to verify that it's
Legit.
legit
Safe,
and
yep.
safe and it's far enough away from any combustible, fences or the house. Because then the ordinance, it has to be so far off the property line and it has to be distance from the home. The reason for removing the burning permits is it's time consuming on myself and the city hall.
Right.
I don't think
It's just a
we've
lot
got-
of paperwork, yeah.
Yeah, we got people that are probably having fire burn pits going and don't even have burn
Permit.
permits.
I think most people don't even know you need one. I mean, you
Yeah.
can buy a fire pit, Menards, and put it in your backyard and go. Yeah, so, okay. All right, anything
Yeah, this is
else?
back from the attorney.
Yes,
He did-
yes,
he did review this.
yes. That is important.
So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-11.
Yeah, what's it listed?
Cool, second.
Motion by Thomas, second by Cool to approve ordinance 2024-11 burn permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Future agenda items and announcements, we did get some information back on the utilities that went through their commission and the lawyer, and then we're gonna have to review it too, so that'll probably be on the next agenda to go over. And then that's all I have. Anyone else?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Cummings, the second.
Motion by Cool, second by Cummings to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no one ever. Have a wonderful night. Yes,
Where, here.
Thomas here. Approval of the meeting minutes from March 21st.
Cool, motion to approve the March 21st minutes.
Where, will second.
Have a motion from Cool, second from Garrett to approve the March 21st minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Public comments, anyone here to comment on an item not on our agenda? Oh, I saw somebody wouldn't help there, okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will go into new business, bylaws, discussion of the fire department. Thank you, gentlemen, I know you guys have worked hard on this to get it back to us, and you've had a number of meetings and go over it. I do have some questions, and I think most of them are pretty generic. I'm gonna start right away with Article 2, Section 1, that first paragraph. It's confusing.
I don't have my copy, so.
Should be one in there.
Yeah. Is there one up there?
Which paragraph, Tim?
Starting right away with Section 1.
Very
application.
first one.
Article 2, Section 1.
Article 2, Section.
Got it, right,
Article 2,
right.
Section 1. And do you need a copy?
If you got an extra one, that'd be great.
Are there any more in here?
I don't have any more, but I can prep one.
Here, take mine.
I do have
I've
another
got
one.
the Finance Committee reports.
Okay. There should be two, yeah, one
You
in
just
each.
give me
Right, right.
Article 2, Section 1.
Yep. The application.
Page 3, Matt.
Yes, I love page numbers.
Hmm?
The application part of it?
Yeah,
The application, it is confusing. It says any person 18 years of age or older who is a resident of the city of Waterloo or a resident of our fire district within 15 miles, with the exception of EMS personnel can do what?
must be able to apply, right?
Are eligible to apply to what I.
Well, EMS personnel, the exception is, they have to be within like 5 minutes, otherwise.
What you're saying is these people are the ones that are eligible to apply, right?
Sure.
You don't have that stated here.
Well, I meant, anybody's eligible, it's just where they live is whether they are gonna be at the station or they can, where they live. So they have to be so fire has to be within 15 miles, EMS can be within 5 miles, or 5 minutes.
Okay, are
And then-
those residency requirements or response requirements?
Respond.
Are those application requirements?
Well, it's part of the application, I meant, so we can't have somebody that, for, like, fire-wise, we can't have somebody that lives 30 miles away.
Sure.
I got that. I think that needs to be cleared up because I read this as, you have to meet these requirements to even apply.
It's just adding words.
Just adding
I would
words,
just say eligibility, right?
Right.
eligibility,
Okay.
you know, something like
You
that.
could add it just the
At the very-
application title.
Right.
You know, I guess
Application
what I
slash
did is
eligibility,
I-
you know.
To be eligible in person.
Okay, I
At
can do
the
that.
end of that sentence where it says, with the exception of EMS personnel, is eligible to reply, is eligible to apply, those are the words I added.
Okay.
To me, it made, that makes.
Whichever way you want to put it.
However you wanna put that,
Yeah.
I just think that needs to be clarified.
All right.
The rest, then when you get down to upon passing a physical drug and alcohol test, which will be provided, is eligible for membership. Those tests will be within the first year of probation. Are you gonna wait a whole year to give these tests? Would you not do these tests immediately?
We always do them after the interview. We get the background check, and then when they come down to the paperwork, unless if we don't have the test available, but otherwise we test them out when we do the paperwork.
Okay, this is, I guess, where part of my confusion comes, is you don't become a member of the fire department until you've passed probation? Then what is your status that whole year while you're learning and you're going on fires and everything else?
Well, they're part of the membership, they're just on probation.
Okay, so they're a probationary members.
Correct.
But doesn't a probationary member, even to be a probationary member, have to pass the physical, alcohol, and drug? Wouldn't you want to do that right away?
It all has to be done within the first year physical. We do the testing, the drug testing and that, we do the screening and that right away. Some of it, as far as the classes, you know, it depends upon when classes are available and, you know, when they can get through class.
So you would theoretically let a probationary firefighter, go to fires, climb ladders, do all the physical stuff without ever going through a physical, to see if they're capable of doing those things. Is that what you're telling me?
Full-time staff goes through a physical. As of currently, right now, we do not have physical agility tests for volunteer membership.
I'm not looking for a physical agility test. I'm
Just a
looking
physical.
Well, a physical in general, I
for
mean.
a general physical to see if they are fit to be doing.
We do not
what they're
have
asking
any,
them to do.
none of our volunteer members do not get a physical.
Really? I had one when I got on. Before I could even go to school, I had to go down and see Doc Garman.
Yeah, now we gotta send them over to Watertown.
Yeah,
Okay, so.
but that kind of lays the
So
floor
that was
of what
one of
you're
the, that was
eligible.
one of their, that was a discussion that we were gonna start making them go get the physical done.
Yeah,
So
But
this,
it's more, it's another cost that we have to look at.
I understand
Yeah.
that. I would much rather that cost be spent finding out that they are either qualified or not qualified before they get injured on the job. And you find out they shouldn't have ever been doing that in the first place.
So, I mean, we can, since it's in here, that's one thing that was brought up when we were going through it and discussing it, that we are gonna have to start.
So I'm gonna go back to your comment then. The only people that have to get physicals are full-time personnel?
When we first start, that's how it has been right now.
Okay.
But we are gonna, like I said, since it is in the bylaws, I believe we were reviewing it in the policies, but that'll be, we can start. I mean, we plan on discussing it a little bit more at the officers meeting about it.
Okay, that's, if you could just work on section 1 and clean that up a little bit.
you're okay with the qualification test coming at the, sometime during that 1-year probationary period, if they pass their physical and
Drug screening.
drug screening,
Alcohol
correct?
screening.
Is that the progression you're sort of feeling?
I feel that these should be with new hire. I know with the police department, even a part-time officer is required to go through that immediately upon hire.
So you take an application, your first thing is to get those 2 things done. And if you're past there, then you're eligible to start as a probationary.
Personally, I would like to see that. I don't want to change what they do.
I'm just clarifying, so everybody,
We'll hire someone contingent that they pass it,
yeah,
so technically they'll be hired. And we'll send them to get their testing. But they have to have that physical before they actually start a working day.
okay.
That's the way we do it.
And that's just precautionary. I mean, you
Yeah,
don't want
when,
to,
like when I got on, I was voted in.
you know.
The first thing I was told to do was go down and the clinic and get a physical.
So if you could just clean that up a little bit as to what those steps would be.
Do you have anything more in that paragraph?
I have more than that paragraph.
Do you have more in that paragraph
Oh,
yet?
not in that paragraph.
Okay, so
That whole paragraph needs to be.
And that's fine, but what I'm just gonna do is say it now, so I don't have to keep repeating it. So you're being redundant when it says, just the very first line, any person, you have 18, and then you spell out 18. Just pick one or the other, you don't need both, it's confusing. So I don't care if you just keep it in numeric or alpha, just as long as it doesn't say 18 in parentheses and then 18, 15 and then 15, and then you kind of do it throughout the document. 12 and 12, 90 and 90.
That's just how it was, so.
That's normal. If you see statutes, they do the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Ordinances.
Because we corrected it in our document to them.
I mean, it's a personal choice. I don't have a problem with it. I see it that way quite
If you
often.
want to leave it, then we'll leave it.
I have no problem.
I thought it was interesting,
Yeah.
because it wasn't consistent on the last one, so maybe you are being consistent now. Okay, then I'll shut right the heck up.
I didn't mean to shut you down.
Okay.
The next page, if you talk about uniforms, section 1B.
Ooh, wait, still saying section 3, please.
Okay.
Probationary period, For the very last section, section 3, probationary period, the very thing on the bottom, upon confirmation, your name will be forwarded to the city council for confirmation. Not just city council for us to look at, because that's what we do, is we,
I guess
for
I just
confirmation.
read for confirmation in there.
In your
without
head,
being-
right, I know.
You understand, get that? I mean, that's why it's being sent to council, is
Right,
for us to confirm it.
correct.
Okay?
And then in section 4, we had, it shall be up to the fire department and the mayor to determine staffing levels. And at one point, we had numbers in there, like 22, 28, there's all kinds of weird, no less than stuff. So I don't know if that's later on in here or not, but you took out and the mayor.
That is what the membership decided. Again, this is all based on the membership agreeing and approving it.
Correct, but I'm still going by statutes.
Yeah.
So it needs to be understood that that's a part of the statutes.
I can put it back in there
Yes.
and.
Yeah, it's just a conversation, it's
Again,
not
but-
like we're,
So, anything that we attempt to change here,
Yeah.
I do have to take back to the
of course you
membership.
do, that's perfectly
Okay,
fine,
so just so we're all under the same page.
Right, right.
I fully expect that to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
we're doing this.
Yes, correct. So I'm just making sure we're all on the same page.
Right,
Right.
so, yeah, so we had and the mayor, and then you took it back out.
Another reason she's bringing that back up is that is statutory language.
Yes. And it's just a conversation,
It's just.
Sort of, well, it's a conversation, it's,
and it's all budgeting, you know? It's all
staffing
budgeted.
levels should be part of your responsibilities as well as it would be for any department, but,
Right,
where was I going with that? Lost my chain of thought.
sorry.
But, it'll probably come back to me, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Section 1B would be on page 4. And again, this is your uniform, how you guys do your uniforms is kind of interesting, but that's okay, that's up to you. Section 1B says that WRFD quotes are given to active members as funds allow or when quotes or court orders are placed. Thank you.
That's a tough combination
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I just crossed out, or when quote orders
Right.
are placed, it's gonna be as funds allow, because
Period.
you're not gonna order them if you don't have the funds, correct?
All right.
Again, it's not changing what you're saying there, it's just,
Right.
because the way it reads then is, if you make an order and there aren't funds, you're still gonna order them.
Right,
Right.
And that's not what your intent is, I don't believe. And going down to the second paragraph under section 1C, that is a little bit confusing. Class B uniform is comprised of the short sleeved gray shirt and black shorts. And then later on, it talks about if there is an allowed variation to that uniform, it will be communicated by the chief. And then you have, i.e., black shorts are allowed and/or are allowed, or no tie is required. That's not in your Class B uniform to begin with. The way that's written. So are you allowing black pants and black shorts, depending on whether?
But black shorts.
And are you requiring a tie for your gray shirt?
No, we call it summer dress. Usually, like when we were doing, 4th of July, we'd have, a shirt on with usually shorts, tennis shoes.
Okay, my
Something on that
question
sort.
then is, why do you have the example? There's a variation allowed, and the variation allowed is black shorts, when it's already part of the uniform. Why would that be a variation of what you're, of the uniform? And not wearing a tie when the tie isn't even part of the uniform? Just need some clarification, okay?
I'm guessing at some point in time, somebody wore a short sleeve shirt with a tie.
Or you had required ties and they didn't wear them.
I think more we had a lot of duties back in the day where there was required time that you had to spend in the park.
Yeah.
Doing park festivities, and rather than wearing full polyester pants during the summer, something was defined, so everybody was sort of uniform in
And I
appearance.
get that, it's
So we
just,
just, what your suggestion is, just taking the example
if that's
For
what
the
your
most part.
Class B uniform is gonna be, is
of
short sleeve gray
the
shirt
shorts and the short
and
sleeve.
black shorts, you don't have to leave the example in, because
That's all
the
they-
tie isn't part of it to begin with.
Depends on how restrictive you wanna be on that. You could generalize a lot of this.
Yeah,
It doesn't even necessarily, to me, even have to be in the bylaws, it could be part of your policy. Makes it a little bit maybe easier to change later on down the line, but totally up to you guys how you wanna do it.
This is what they agreed on already,
Yeah.
so that's why they left it there.
it's just a language thing,
Yep.
okay? It's not changing anything you're doing, it's just cleaning up the language.
Right.
And then I'm on Article 6, page 5, Section 2. The WFRD shall hold in the annual meeting, and this is where you elect your officers for, those have to be confirmed by the council also, that's state law. That just needs to be added. The fire chief has to be confirmed by the council, and so do the officers. So if you could just add that. And, I guess I do have one more. I like what you guys did, and you spent a lot of time, and a lot of the changes came out with sense.
Where you at, Tim?
Page 7, Article 9. The chief to decree what action should decree be decided. Right, okay. I can work with decree, what action to be taken on illness or funerals of members, their immediate family, or past members. Now, are we talking about a sick leave policy? What are you approaching? What are you trying to accomplish here? Because the city has a sick leave policy that would affect the full-time.
Brief.
So most of that comes down to like funerals of past members. We have members that, you know, if they get put in the hospital or something like that for whatever reason, not necessarily the flu or anything like that, but, you know, if a member becomes ill, they end up having surgery, they're gonna be in a hospital for a long stay of time, it would be up to the chief basically to determine what actions are gonna be taken. You know, whether we send flowers or something like that, which we've done for funerals in the past. As far as funerals go, usually that's a Class A dress uniform, meet at the station at a certain time, we go down as a group.
Okay, so,
I think the things that you're thinking of, Tim, those are in policy.
those are in the policies?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then I'm happy.
I would say this is bereavement or,
Correct.
Well, we've got a
It's
bereavement
more-
and sick leave policy that full-time would be affected by.
yeah, but this is
This is
basically
for-
is like, we're, as a group, you're doing something.
Right, okay.
Maybe direct is a better word.
Trying to think, what was
Chief to direct
yeah,
what action to be taken. I don't know if that feels better.
Okay, then I'm, that's all I have.
I have one on page 6, I have a question on.
we can go back. What else do we-
It was just to do with the officers, I see you made some updates to it, which is good, but then you took out the requirements of the public information officer. It used to be 3 years, now it's no years, anybody can be the public information officer? Why'd you take the time out?
That was what they agreed on.
So
Again,
is somebody brand new in the department, who's never been there before, can be the public information
as
officer?
long as they got the,
Negative, because they have to have firefighter two, which is a full year of schooling to get it in the
Sure,
first
but
place.
they could have gotten that somewhere else
They
in a
could have.
different department. Okay, so you didn't care then, okay, because it was in before, so that's why I'm just questioning why you took it out. And they voted it that way.
again, this probably took the longest part
Yeah,
of the meeting, is, there was a lot of good discussion to it, so.
that's good.
And that's what they ended up just agreeing on.
That's fine,
Is what
not
they
a problem,
wanted, so.
just wanted to ask, cause it was
Yep.
there and it's gone, so, just a
For
question.
somebody like me with social media and stuff like that, the younger kids, the younger generation,
Yes,
more into the social media
I'm
stuff
with you,
than I am,
Wes.
you know?
Right,
So
right.
sometimes, you know, it's better to have somebody that actually knows
Sure, how to
that
do that stuff,
information
right.
to do it,
Yeah.
than me saying, okay, let's
Yeah.
do this, or, you know, like Werner or I doing it, something like that.
Mhm.
And it's just like getting information out. We have the social media account or the Facebook page now for the
Mhm.
department. And that, and they do talk to me before they do post things.
Good, okay,
So that I know what's getting put out
Yeah.
there.
yeah. And it's good, I mean, they got the qualifications, which is the most important thing, so I was just curious on the time. That's fine. Thank you.
And the only thing I have to say on that, or it's a question, I guess, is what the feeling of the membership was when they set the requirements. Is that when they're electing people, the assumption is they're gonna be fully qualified for this. And because if they're being ratified at council level, we also have to make sure that they're qualified, whether that's producing the paperwork or the qualifications, much like we would if we were hiring an officer or anything else. It's gotta be the same. So, as long as their intent was, that's the way it was gonna be, I don't think we'll have any problem with passing it at the council level, but I've heard things of grandfathering and such words as that. It can't happen like that.
So what, the big push, at the meeting, it was pretty much stated from this point on, so the next election will be in January. This is exactly what we have to follow to a T.
Right.
So if they do plan on being an officer, they need to have the pre-qualifications prior to
Okay.
election.
Okay.
So you're not, go ahead.
So I'm just going backwards, because if you go backwards, I think the last time, didn't you say it was 2019 or something was the last time that we had seen this?
This document, you mean,
Was
or
it
what?
this, I'm not sure, that's what, it probably predates me being on council, so that's my question is, for your current administration, until your next elections are, the assumption is whatever qualifications were in place there, the council approved.
We haven't approved
We haven't
anything on their
approved
officers.
I'm
They-
just at,
Yeah, right,
not
right.
this one, the one before.
Correct. Those never came to us, and that was part of the conversation that we had, that after we approved this, did you want to hold a reelection? Because we never confirmed them in January.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that was always state statute, it just wasn't written in here, but that doesn't negate the process. Just because it wasn't written in
Right.
here doesn't mean you don't have to do it.
You have this document's been around for forever.
Right.
But as soon as you put it in here, the assumption is when,
Now you have to follow it.
you have to follow it when the organizational meeting comes later on in this, which it does every election
Right.
cycle. The chief is presenting the members and the officers and so on forth for confirmation, including his position
Mhm.
at this time. Those standards have to be
Met.
followed or
Right.
met.
Mhm.
I mean, because that's basically law, because it's in our ordinance, so that's the only thing.
So we had the conversation of what you were going to do if you were going to hold your January to this,
Correct.
or they stay from what they had, but they had to still abide by what was in here.
Right.
Correct.
So that means that 3-year minimum would have had to have been in your January election. So if you want this to take over, like once we approve this, then you do your elections again? Because you and I had that conversation, do we do this again, or what do we do?
Correct, and that's what we needed to discuss. is-
Okay, so we're not gonna wait till another January to do this. So, I mean, it is what it is now, we just
Right.
never approved it, so they're already getting paid and you're on the schedule, but we need to formalize it. So then there'll be 2 different ways we do this. So for some reason in April, we do, the members, but in January, you guys do the officers and the chief, right? That always happens at the beginning of the year?
That's when we do our voting.
Correct. So that's when we would need that document is end of January, beginning of February, whatever it is.
It would end up being February.
Sure,
because
because it's
what
the
it
end of
is,
the month,
so.
right, right.
Correct.
So based on this then, if you want to rehold your elections based on this, after we approve this, then you just submit it to us, we're all up to snuff, and
Be
then
next year.
do what you need to do.
No
in
matter how
January.
I would say, no matter how the elections have been in the past, with this document being ratified now,
Mm.
you're gonna have new elections the next cycle, which would be, according to your bylaws, would be next January,
Correct.
which would reset the bell to follow these standards, which
Sure.
council will approve.
But
Your
we haven't-
membership will be aware of it,
Yeah,
the public will be aware of it, and we should be,
so you don't
Good.
want them to redo the January one? Because we've never approved it, either that or we just have to
Well,
approve it as a formal
I
document.
mean, right now, I don't know if you can approve it until this is done, right?
And we're not done with this.
And we're not
Okay.
done with this, because we haven't seen the
Okay.
policies
I
yet.
kinda
So
have
stay
the
tuned on the approval
the
process.
feeling that,
We're not trying to be difficult, we just want to be,
We're gonna be so
The
close to
process.
January by the time we get this.
It
Maybe,
might very
maybe,
well be, you never know.
maybe.
Maybe
We
the-
just start out
but then
to-
the process is obviously two different approval processes, one in January, and then your April one that you always do with your year of your.
Think what we
Well, we
wanted,
also kind of discussed that too a little bit.
Yes, do you want to do it all at
we wanna
once?
just do everything in February? Because that's when everything will be the voting will be
I think that
completed,
would be easier,
and then, so the membership,
so you're not
the
doing it
officers,
twice. Yep,
yeah.
everything could be done in February.
I'm
and
all
then
in
we're done
favor of
with it.
that, I have no problem with that.
That's up to you guys.
Because we don't really have that written
Well,
anywhere
we want
about April.
the department to be okay with this too.
Yeah.
And understand what it is, so it's not like we're bringing or pulling the rug out of somebody that they didn't know something was happening, so.
Right, so I meant, after we do our vote,
Right,
we agreed on it, obviously, because we voted to whoever was in.
Yeah.
And then in February, because that's when we would be able to give you the documents that
yep,
these are the
for
new
that resolution,
officers.
this is who we've got. I
And
would
then you guys
prefer
would
you did
present
it all at
their-
once,
in February.
yeah.
I think, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Because
Then you don't
otherwise
need to
you're
mess around with it in April.
Otherwise, you're just pushing it out 3 months
Ah.
until you guys do it,
Correct.
so.
I know.
So
Yep.
that's no difference to us.
Yep.
It's not a
I
different
think it'd be
stuff.
cleaner,
We
so
have
you
to
only gotta
change
think of
anything.
it once and don't worry about it.
They could submit it, I would imagine it's up to, I don't know, how is that?
We're gonna have to look at our ordinances.
Yeah, we'd have to look and make sure that the timing of the
Yeah.
reorg happens correctly,
Okay.
because there's state statutes that it has to happen this month unless you have it, it's gotta be by May 1st.
Yeah, I just don't know if that applies
And if they
necessarily to
do it
the
in
fire
February,
department
that's
and
by
their
May
members.
first.
Yeah,
So it's, there's a.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
all right.
fair enough.
At this point in time, we're gonna say we agree with that, we just have to check certain statutes to make sure we can get away.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do it that way, okay?
And the only other thing I would say is, because there's policies referenced here, policies and procedures are referenced, we'll work on that document, stand
Yeah, so when the
together.
policies, because we're gonna probably hopefully have a meeting, start having a meeting this month.
Yep.
If it needs a change in bylaws, then that's just a quick reference change, so.
Sounds good.
Got questions on what our recommendations were at all? Do you understand our recommendations?
For the bylaws?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
So I can always take them back and discuss it with the membership, so.
okay.
All right.
Otherwise, good job, looks good.
Appreciate it, you guys have done a lot of work on it.
it's clear that there's been a lot of effort into it.
Took some time.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yay.
Okay, Town of Waterloo radio payment update.
Yay. I happy.
Yeah, I mean, last meeting, we talked about how that kind of slipped through as far as the payments on the radio share. So, we reached out to them. They actually voted in their meeting, last week, I think it was, that they will take care of the 22, 23, and 24 by the end of the year. So we'll just keep on track then as far as the rest of the.
Thank you, guys.
I'll be back.
Okay.
the rest of the amortization schedule, so we'll
Yeah.
be on track by, the end of the year, they'll pay those three. So that was good.
Right.
And we didn't have to really redo anything. So we'll just keep it at the same structure.
And they'll get one document and they know we're not
Yeah.
gonna send them an invoice each month.
And I
or each year.
think, I didn't get any response to it, so I assume that was all right. I think you guys all saw the email, or I know you did, is that I sent them a new
Might be helpful to
invoice.
send a reminder to get a response.
Correct.
And I
want
think
that
because that's what
in.
happened with
Right.
the payments, and I
It
will,
hasn't happened
Yeah.
last time.
included
Even if it's just an
everybody.
email,
Right,
I'll
oh,
look-
absolutely.
And I'll look calendar
Right,
reminder,
right.
hey, email.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets to a point, I think that's where the communication, they just expected that. So I did update for the 3 years, but did that, and you're right, I will follow up with them just to confirm that they read that.
Basically one statement and then you just do
Because
it
it
every
is,
year.
yeah, they can just copy that and send it in, it's as good as, it's not gonna change, for that part of it,
Yeah.
so. But yes, I will, send a reminder.
It turned out good, I'm very happy with that.
Yes, I'm pleased that it went that way too.
So, all right, but yes, so that was good news, and,
Yeah.
but yeah. So that'll be some additional money coming in at the end of the year.
Audit review, so is no one from Baker Tilly gonna be here?
For the council.
Just the council, it's just
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
looking at it here first?
We're just gonna talk about a few
She's
things.
gonna go over a number of
Perfect.
things.
I mean, a
Perfect.
few things with it and
Because-
stuff.
Mhm.
He's gonna have charts and some other things. he's gonna do.
Good, because I clearly missed the meeting.
Yeah, and
It was a
he
very
went,
good meeting.
Good, and they usually are.
and this is
I-
the handout that he
Yep.
wanted us
Yep.
to have,
Yep.
so.
Big money,
I
your
think
place.
you want to do it, yeah. Because when we talked about it.
Right, usually that's how it is, it's
And
at council.
it's really
Right.
kind of a repeat
There's
of some
gonna
of
be a
the things.
repeat at council when he told the finance.
Sure. So, go through it. What
No, we
comes
gotta do
next?
financial statements first.
Oh, never mind. I'm so excited, so excited.
March 2024 financial statements, we can take them all in one night.
Because that was next in my packet, I don't have it. I gotta do the treasurer's report.
Cool motion to accept the March financial statements as listed.
Wyatt will second.
That motion from Cool, second by Wire, to recommend council of the March 2024 financial statements. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And now we can do the 2023
As
audit.
expected. You know, overall, I mean, the audit went smooth, you know, Tim, talked to Justin, on that, so this really was my first full audit, you know, going through it, so very interesting, learned a lot. I think Baker Tilly's great.
Yes.
They really are, they're very, very helpful. A few things came out of it, one of them of which is our undesignated, I always want to say
Funds.
surplus.
Yep.
And we're within, what is the ordinance of 35?
25 to
Ordinance is
33.
25 to 33%.
So, I mean, there's not anything negative there. We did, or Tim did talk to them about potentially, I don't even know if you got all that, setting up maybe a fund balance,
I forgot to print that.
a
Yeah.
fund balance, you can do that.
Yep, policy. I
To put
read
it into a restricted, so it's not there, because obviously we have a lot of projects that are coming up with
And
the
we
roads.
talked about that.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes, we
I
have.
think we called it, I think we were doing it the opposite way, we were trying to put it in the,
We were gonna put the unassigned balance. on top.
right, into a
Yeah,
fund instead of
yeah.
just leaving the
And
assigned,
so that's
right,
something we
right.
can definitely
When
explore.
we discussed the unassigned balance, this is from another community that he.
Correct, yep,
Yeah,
I read that,
And,
yeah.
he sent it to us for discussion, if we have any more questions, we have
Yeah.
them.
we can do
He's
that.
willing to come and talk to us.
Did these
about
two
it.
see this?
It got sent to them, yes.
I
Okay,
think
good,
so.
good, okay.
I mean,
We
the-
didn't have all the discussion behind
No.
We didn't have any of the
Yeah, 'cause
discussion.
I don't see anybody
really
else's
didn't- I
name
really
on
didn't either,
here.
that was forwarded to me as
Okay.
well, so it'll be
Right.
something that I'll touch base with.
Okay.
You know, some of it too, and once, go through all the numbers with Justin a little bit more in detail. I mean, right now, one of the benefits that we have is to also invest, you know, in higher rates, so,
Mhm.
because we're looking at those multiple projects that are coming up, so, we can certainly,
it. So the big jumps in the unrestricted were.
yes, the unassigned,
Were the unassigned were
Andy.
uncompleted capital projects probably. or
Well,
some
Well,
of
that-
where
that's
you-
not in
jump,
there,
no.
yeah.
The biggest jump would have been from the police department. We had 2 positions that weren't filled,
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so that accumulates.
and that accumulates. I
Yeah.
mean, they are filled now,
Right,
but they weren't filled for parts of the
And there was-
year.
And that's been an ongoing thing for many years
That's been for a
too,
couple of
so,
years. We
I
fully
mean,
fund
yeah.
the positions,
Right.
because we fully expect it to be
Be there.
Phil,
right.
filled.
You know, and there's,
But 80,000 of that alone would be a year without an officer,
Mhm.
a complete year. So for a part of that year, we were without 2. We were down.
and that and benefits that are all factored in
Sure,
there.
yeah. So-
We, you know, our budget, because you just can't project that necessarily, like, you know, interest income. I think we budget 15, we were well over 100, you know, I mean, those are things that all put into play
right.
for that.
So I'm trying to think, is there a better way, and maybe they have a suggestion on a better way? You said like an investment or something.
Well, that would
different
at
where it
least
could
just help
segregate-
us for future wise.
segregate,
Right.
But is there a better way to track this?
Well, that's where that
We're only
fund
seeing
balance
it
is.
Yeah. this
Basically once a
policy,
year,
yeah.
and we're using it audit time, we're using a lot of these variables. We do have budget time to see how much carryover we
Right.
have. We can
Right.
do complete projects, but I think it would be advantageous to see more of it on like on a quarterly basis, maybe. Just to see where we are.
That's the goofy thing though, because everything gets
You don't know
numbers,
what the
yeah.
balances are in those
Yeah.
accounts.
And the, and
I
the
mean,
money
Maybe
that's in
not, but
capital
if you
projects
have-
is not part of the
If
unassigned.
you have
Yeah.
if you have 2 staff members that
So,
aren't
that is-
fulfilled, you're gonna see that in the balance sheet on a quarterly basis that you're not seeing.
Right,
Right,
right.
those you
Yeah.
would.
Eventually, that's gonna come back.
Mhm.
Now, those are the type of things I think we were talking about for, like, for hiring. If you wanted to do a program like an incentive program or something mid-year that's gonna help you out.
Sure.
Unless you remember that, hey, we may have some unassigned monies that were
We
already
could
sort
do a
of mirrored.
one-time use
We
with.
could do a one-time
Right.
use of it to
Right.
take advantage of it. And that's, I'm thinking, the more you see it, the more you're gonna realize it might be a tool that you can utilize in the future rather than wait until audit time. It's like, oh, wow, we got all this.
Shows up monthly in the budget.
It does, but it's hard to pick up
Yeah.
that way.
It's harder to pick up because what you're seeing is the total
Right.
unspent
And it's,
funds, including that year's.
yep, and it's probably harder even for the department heads that have to look at it, cause they're over on some, under on some, you know what I mean?
And that's.
On a line by
yeah.
line basis, and that's the only thing we have to look at on a monthly basis when we approve, but some of that stuff is already a known factor ahead of time.
Well, and I hope that, my plan is that July after, you know, sometime in July is that we'll go through,
Right.
see where we're at now, and see if that helps. And go through each department with their budget, see what, you know,
After the
where
end of
we're at.
June.
Yeah, just kind of
Numbers.
that, so we can report
Right.
back to finance and kind of see where we're at. Maybe that will, it's
Gives
worth a
these
shot
guys
to see.
advice what they can do
Yeah, and
too
then we
for
can
Right.
It
see.
might be easier in 6 months than
Yes.
quarterly.
Right.
Maybe.
That, well, that's
Yeah,
was my
maybe.
goal, just because you don't
Budget
know.
time is really when it
It
would-
is, but,
yeah.
you know, if Chad has street projects going on and he knows along halfway through the project that they're gonna be under budget,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
are looking at budget time, looking what next year's capital is gonna be,
Which is what we
it's,
did
it's
this
gonna,
year.
it's
this
gonna
last
have
year.
some bearing on that,
And
so.
I
And you
think
got
it's,
your
I
lead.
think-
You don't wanna
yeah.
wait too long, cause it
Right.
always seems like we're looking at, the undesignated or unassigned values late in the process, and then trying to match.
The problem is doing it quarterly, once we finish the year, now it's starting April, we're just getting done with the audit to kind of see where we're at.
Then maybe,
So,
yeah,
so-
maybe mid-year then. would be-
Yeah, I mean, that's the
would be
only
better.
thing, and if we look at it and say, okay, well, this is helpful, or we need to tweak it, I think that at least it'll give, then, you know, looking at it might help during budget time for
Right.
us to even
Right.
just kind of look at
Just-
things. There's just so many unvariables that we
Money's
can't
in
do
the
it.
budget. I mean, this is money that we budgeted. that
Mhm.
didn't
Yeah.
get spent.
That didn't
Right.
get spent, right.
Or we
But
went
based on
over
budgets,
increase.
all those monies were expected to be spent,
Right.
They were.
yes.
Which
Yeah.
is, like I
And
said,
it's
which is
not
why
like we
Chad
were-
got that
our
leaf
budget
thing, because
was
all those projects
Right.
came in under, why just throw that into a fund balance when you need to buy it next year when it's gonna be more expensive next year?
It's
Haven't
some,
been.
Yeah.
We can
But
make
the-
those-
does
We make
the-
those decisions then,
And that's
yeah.
sort of where the
But-
carryover
but if
for
it
the
is
last 5
budgeted,
years,
though.
I just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
We got it all
you have
together.
to show a balance that
A lot of that.
isn't.
I think it's under the blue.
You know, and the thing too is like things that we have for capital projects are not part of the unassigned.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
That was a
so,
different
yeah,
project that I
yeah,
had.
sure.
Right.
so,
For sure,
but
but-
that'll help us
Right.
You can
figure.
utilize some of that during budget time to
Yes.
help
We can
cover
use
some.
it as
Yeah.
strategic capital
Yeah.
projects.
Right.
And part of that,
All this particular community uses, their money goes into a fund for capital projects only.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
And
it's
there could
definitely
be a
worth,
policy made for that,
Mhm.
for sure, on what you're,
we're just gonna have to be careful with the numbers if we look at them in July.
right.
Right.
Yep.
And a road project's only half done
Yep.
and a quarter
Oh,
paid
exactly.
for.
but it would be a good
You're gonna have a
earmark.
high balance.
It would be a good earmark to work towards. By the time you complete it in November or December, you're gonna have a pretty good idea where that's gonna flush out.
But you're gonna have a better idea of staffing that you're not gonna pay for because they haven't been there.
Yeah.
Rather than something you haven't yet paid
Right.
for that you're still expecting.
You have more? I'm sure you do.
Well, I mean, the report, and like I said, he'll go into detail, I think those, doing that semi-monthly thing, I think it's gonna help us budget time and cut down on the special meetings and.
Good.
I had to say that.
Is he gonna talk about the uncollateralized or whatever that was?
I don't know if he talked to that.
Because that was in the audit report.
And what that was, or is that anytime, you know, with investments that you have over, with the banks, it's 400,000. And with F&M, we had what was called I really wasn't familiar with it, but a line of credit. What happened is when we switched, we were fine.
Right.
But unfortunately, when the utilities moved to a different account, they were no longer under that umbrella, we were different, and they were there. You know, he said he's not putting a big bunch of weight into it, and I know that they fixed that issue with it,
Okay.
but it really was, you have to have that insurance for
Right.
the,
Yeah, the
FDIC,
uncollateralized
yeah,
deposit.
yeah, so there was a small amount, for ours, only because it's been a year, but trying to work out switching the checking completely over to capital, but, the majority of that was, utilities, but I know that they fixed it.
Did a general number on the extra interest we gained, because we did that not quite a year ago, right?
Changing banks.
But do you have a guesstimate of where that kind of
I-
flushed out? Was
I-
it close to your projections?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Good.
And so that's also some of the reasons it's unassigned from where we were at and that
Yeah.
kind of thing too. So all
That's a
the changes,
benefit. That's a benefit.
yeah, huge change. So that definitely helped, the city, for that. Because right now, honestly, and this is gonna change, obviously, interest rates, there's no control over that. But already 3 months in, we're already half the budget. So this is gonna all be, but I don't know what'll happen in 3 months, right, so.
And then on
We'll get it on the other end when we gotta go out.
Yes.
Did you guys talk about that on page 26, the corrected misstatements? This was like a
Yeah,
learning curve
yeah,
stuff.
and this
Yeah.
was something that, really came down to Mike was doing and it
Just how you
had to
had
get
to move it
switched,
around.
yeah. So yes, those were, you just marked them, and there was nothing other than
Right.
entry issue
Yeah.
with those, so, I learned a lot with that part,
Yeah,
so.
that's a good thing.
And he spoke,
Yeah,
he spoke very well, so that there was some that had to be changed, and the changes were made absolutely no problem,
Yeah.
everyone's experience.
Right.
The only thing we got hit on is the same thing we get hit on
Yes.
annually.
With the double check system,
With the
yeah,
double check
that's,
system.
that's that same paragraph
The only way to
every
get
year. Yeah.
past that is,
More
as
people.
the report says, hiring more people.
Yeah.
and I think
We'll
we
get
were,
right on
I
that.
think we were
Everybody
able
wants
to
to.
remove 1 or 2 of those items, and I'll have to double check, just because we
And
put in
we-
some safeguards.
Right, we did
Um,
some stuff, right?
Yeah, he did say that we're one of the few communities, and they commend us for having a wire transfer policy, because that was
Good.
a big deal, so I think that came off with some of the restrictions, but,
Just the
Yeah.
checks and balances.
Yeah.
So one person should be taking the money, the next person should be counting it, and the third person should be making out the deposits.
Yep.
And we don't have the personnel to do that.
No, so,
We never will have the personnel to do all of that. And he said most communities our size don't have one person.
no, and so he's just, he's gotta say it, he says, I have to say
Oh,
it.
absolutely, absolutely.
But he did say that some of the things like with the payroll and the way that it works with them, and then any of the deposits, that comes, and I think he might have taken some of those off, that then it comes to me, strictly to me, so then I see what Jean and Sarah are doing. So, I mean, we tried to put some more safeguards in. I don't think we'll ever be perfect with that, but, we're working on it, so.
Yeah, we just gotta do the best we can.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
so, yeah, there's, like I
He
said,
also asked if there were anything special that we needed to know, and he said no. It was.
Yep. Yeah, because I talked to him before the audit, and then we talked to him again before this, so, and that was one of the comments that I told him. I said, being that you've basically been here pretty much on your own now.
yeah,
I said, be brutal, tell her everything. She's gotta know what's right, what's wrong, you know, praise as well as, okay, you gotta fix this.
The
you know.
one
I
thing is
expected-
that-
I told him I
yeah.
expected there to be problems,
yeah.
because you're new, I mean,
And most of the time though, even just with Ellers and so you guys know, is that if there's something that does come up that I'm just not 100% on, I message them through the year. So
Yeah.
Justin knows that. I will ask him if there's an entry, does this, you know,
Make
is this
sense.
gonna fit? And he, yep, that's good. So, like I said, they just don't drop the ball after they do it. They're there for support.
and they've had some
training.
good stability there too. That
Yes.
is- We're talking to the same people year after year, so that's awesome too.
Yeah, so, other than that, there was only the other, which is an agenda item. I don't know if we can jump it, or does it
What's
matter? The
The
ARPA funds. That was, just came up in the audit, so,
We have to make a motion, but.
no, then we can just
Well, we can
wait.
just talk about it then, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great.
Other than that, like I said,
Anything else on the audit review? Again, he'll be
yeah,
there for the council meeting if you have additional questions directly to him.
yeah.
But, I was satisfied.
Okay.
He's looking at this. That went well. Correction on Hawthorne and Stone guaranteed TIF revenue.
Yeah, so here, I just print this out so you guys could just see it. This is off my, oh, the other thing too with my view, I was,
Is it Charlie?
yeah, this just for that, is now, and like Wes, same thing, you can go in and stop and see me with my view. Chad, all of them, they can go in and look at their budget numbers.
Did that get fixed? It's
Yeah,
working now?
it's working, so, and it's a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be, so I'm hoping I get some feedback from, Chad, have you tried it yet? You were the-
Not since that day you showed me, I
Okay.
haven't looked at it.
Just because I said, and I showed Kelly today, that if there's anything that comes up, that's also gonna help with, you know, these conversations that we have, is that they're gonna be able to see these things too
So they
in
can see
real
where they're
life.
at budget
Yes,
time,
yes.
so you know where your numbers are.
So, I mean, I can show you guys as
Yep,
well,
yep.
and then I assume have everything, so you can go in and look. And that's a nice thing, they can go and somebody says, oh, this didn't get paid, or whatever the case is, they can go in there and it gives them a list. So, should be able to track it pretty well. But anyways, so Hawthorne and Stone, this, I just printed this off in my view. Last year, we had budget,
Right.
well, what, it was 107, we budgeted 101. Thing against learning, on their agreement, which everything's attached on here, the developer payment, all of that city payment, that will change this year. So we allocated, I think, based on my notes, of 82,000 as far as revenue from Hawthorne and Stone, and I put in you can see the invoice, that is what it's going to be. So, a little change there. So, that's what it'll be versus what we kind of budgeted, about 80.
Because this is the guaranteed portion.
Right, so I
change.
wanted to show you, because I did it now, so then I'll just send it out
Yep.
in August when we normally send them out. So, and then that's the schedule, so, but, yeah, so we're a little off on that.
Taxes paid, 57.
Mm-hmm.
Where do those numbers come from? Where's this 57 come from?
That's what was paid on their parcels
Okay.
for the
Is that the
23.
actual
Yeah,
tax?
that was
That's the real
23,
tax
yes,
bill,
it
right,
was paid
not the
24, so we
additional,
have
right.
that information, that's
Yep.
the amount on the schedule, so that is the difference. Where before in the year prior to, I don't know what the tax was for that year, but there was no offset, there was
Correct.
142.
They just paid the 142 and that was the
yeah.
end of it.
So
So this
now-
2024 is the
Mhm.
first year that we're
Yes,
doing
yes,
this.
yes. So it's more of an FYI, just so you know, it wasn't, I think Rich,
So
you
this
might
is
have caught
pre,
that.
this is in
didn't you?
advance,
Didn't
because
you
this is
catch
dated
that?
August. So this,
Yeah,
you're
I
just
just
showing
did
us
it,
in advance.
Because I'm
yeah.
not sending it right
Right.
now, usually we send it in August or September, last year it was a
Until,
little late.
yeah, because once we know, yeah.
But I put it in the file, and I'm like, oh, I
Sure.
have it, so you guys can see it, so ahead of time. So more of a FYI, so you understand that we're a little off on the budget there.
Any other questions?
Nope. We'll need that going forward, folks, shows.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we'll know that from now on, or I will.
Yep, yep.
Resolution 2024-04.
Carryovers.
That's pretty blue.
Financial carryover approval. We do this every year,
And it was reviewed by the auditors as well, just not in the report, but
the audit report.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't in there, but they reviewed it, and I gotta talk to them about that, because it'll be difficult to get that done. They don't put it in the audit report because it hasn't been approved by
Justin said he
you.
talked to you about it.
Okay,
It shows up 0 in the audit report
Mhm.
because we're approving it after the audit
Yeah.
report came out.
but he's already reviewed, it has to go to them to look at, but it hasn't been approved, so they
Has
can't
not
do
been
it, you know,
approved.
so.
That's why we get a draft.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it's pretty standard
The
with that.
actual audit has been finalized and is out.
Mhm.
That went out on the day I talked, we spoke on the phone.
Okay.
15th.
That was finalized.
But what does this still have to do then in that audit?
But nothing.
No,
Nothing.
he said it's,
It doesn't matter? Okay,
Mhm.
that's good.
no, it doesn't have to.
He gave me the choice of holding up the publishing of the audit until after we did all of it. I said, there's no reason.
Mhm.
So the audit just
Because then we
shows
would have had
zero.
to wait another
Yeah.
period of
The-
time.
The only change in the carryovers or addition is the library now set up a additional fund balance for, they voted on doing that, some memorial donations, I think Garmin or something. So that is new.
Oh, okay.
So you're aware of that, that's,
So they got
Yeah.
a donation
it's
of.
Garmin or something
Sure.
along those lines, so.
When she
That's
passed.
the only thing, if you look in the past ones, you're not gonna see that, because that's a new, so, that is where we're at.
Got it.
So we need a motion to recommend council approval of the resolution.
Approval, so motion.
Clerical second.
Any questions? We have a motion approval, second from Mayor, to recommend council approval of the resolution 2024-04, the financial carryover. Discussion on the Planet software fee increase.
Yeah, that was something that we voted.
We didn't vote.
Oh, sorry.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
See, leave
Oh,
Chief
Oh,
catch
the
that.
darn
Signify by
question.
saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Chief
Thank you.
catches you.
Good job back there.
I
Way
know.
to stay awake.
She's on it. All right.
Yes.
So the Planet. So that is the software, the 5, the capital projects that we do. I wasn't exactly excited about it, using it, it was a little difficult, but we have for years. And so, it just tracks where the money's coming, if it's road projects or whatever. But we budgeted $350, and that's what it's been for quite some time. I got the invoice, it's $950.
Yeah.
I freaked out on that one a little bit. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was. So I guess one is to let you know aware of it. I was gonna talk to some other cities. I go to a treasure conference next week in Stevens Point, so I was going to talk to them about that, what they use.
It doesn't have that covered somehow.
Right. I know.
And I'll make some, he's gonna give us some grace period because it was due, but
But
I,
it's probably a lot more than $950.
mhm.
Don't know, don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about doing a spreadsheet, Excel, but,
So she'll talk to some other people, and they, like she was saying, that
Yeah.
we do have an extension, so it's not like we have to pay it, we just have to confirm if we're gonna keep it.
yeah,
What do we use this for?
just
Budget,
budget time.
it's that 5-year capital plan, those
Like-
multiple pages that have everything in
Like
it.
the furnace, we budgeted
Does the
25,000.
calculations
It does,
for
yeah,
Yeah.
and each department has a
It
section.
certainly
and
seems like there should be
It's a very simple
a
process
Excel
for that.
spreadsheet guru that some city has that probably is.
And that's what I'm
done
gonna
this.
find
Right.
out if they do, because, and I figured if we could maybe go that route, and then if it just doesn't work, you guys aren't happy with,
'Cause it
what it
doesn't
looks like,
talk
we can
to
go back.
anything now anyway.
No, and it's and I did talk to him about it, I said, I don't find it very user-friendly, granted I'm new, but user-friendly, and I said, there's stuff in here from, 15 years ago or something.
Like
He goes,
Mo inserted a bunch of
Yeah,
numbers
it's just
that she
crazy.
can't figure out.
I can't, he goes, well, I can help clean that up. I'm like, well, we've been paying you for a long time, why haven't you kind of helped us all along? But, if we do stick with it, or if we decide to,
Yeah.
I'm gonna certainly make him, put it together that way. But I
Yeah.
think we did put it in the budget, but we did chat about
Possibly
potentially,
canceling it.
yeah, doing the Excel spreadsheet and kind of seeing how that works. Cause that's a big, if it was, 100,
It's just a program we use once a year.
I would be okay
Yeah.
with it, but you go up
$1,000
$600, it's just,
That's a big
Yeah.
it's not like I use it on a daily basis, I mean, we'll go and look at it, so, it's more of an FYI, I'll report back as far as
Yep.
options with that,
Yep.
and then we can decide if you
When's the
want to.
contract due?
It was due a couple weeks ago first, so, but he's giving us time, cause I said, hey, you went up in the
Massive, yeah.
a large amount, I can't just authorize that, so
Yeah.
he said, I'll give you some time to get that approved, so.
Okay, good.
ARPA funds.
ARPA, that was part of the audit, and it's obviously a good thing we do it. It came up a question, we have ARPA funds of approximately $174,000 that, and I said, what? And
Second round.
yeah, it was the second round. We have to use it by the end of the year for that. They have loosened up the requirements. It was before just for like payroll or whatever the case is. Now, there's really zero
So is there
stipulations.
no guidelines whatsoever for what we can and can't use
We just
this
can't
money
use
for?
it for retirement or something along those
I
lines,
mean, can
but
you do it for a road
yes,
project?
yes, we can do
Okay.
it. We can,
I asked them if we could use it for the back parking lot.
And I
the
did.
answer was yes.
Yes,
Ooh,
I did
sweet.
ask that as well, because I knew that was a project, obviously,
Got a project, we got some money.
yes, and that's the thing, is the finance
So,
part is.
that'd be good.
I don't wanna I mean, the big thing is with the rates higher, and if we
Oh,
have the
God, yeah.
ability to do this,
Right.
that helps, get that done,
We should be
before
able
all
to get those
other,
sidewalks in then.
all of our other major road projects are coming up that we're gonna be,
I mean, yes, we have to spend it by the end of the year, but I
Yeah.
would say capital project, because this is not a reoccurring
Right, it's a
No,
one
source
Yeah.
of money.
Right. The bids will be open when?
Next Friday,
Next Friday.
10
Okay.
a.m.
What are they gonna do with the siren
Siren?
back here?
Nothing.
It says
Leave
so.
it?
Okay.
Just leave it tipped over
Oh,
or
we'll
tipping?
I
straighten
don't
it
know
out.
what the wires got pulled it up.
I'm just wondering,
Straight up in the air.
it's like, seems like, I mean, we
Everything's
did
gonna get-
communications before,
Yeah.
we probably should be spending some on
mhm.
projects around emergency government, maybe, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, I
That would be
agree with
one.
that, that is
That would
something
be
that we can
one.
do.
I would love to see the speed sign get fixed.
What speed sign?
I mean,
Speed board,
It's not
The
fixed?
speed
I didn't
board.
know it was broke. What'd you
The,
do?
the lights keep burning out on it,
Yep.
but it's
Well,
getting old.
change the light bulb.
no, it's like a circuit board.
Oh, that's bad.
Right, it's like a
Okay.
circuit board, but
I mean, we have the ability, we have things that we can use it.
yes.
we do, but.
And those are all
I
important
think those
things.
things you don't think about
Changing.
until,
Right.
it's like, That would be handy to have.
We should get that, I know we didn't.
No,
maybe
we'll
it wasn't
definitely
working.
find a place for that to use
Put out a
for,
wish list.
yeah.
Get a backup generator for the DPW, so when the power goes out on days like today, I can get my truck out.
Ooh,
I had my candles out this morning.
I was reading that on Facebook this
5
afternoon, like,
a.m.
when did the hell will the power go out?
Twice,
Nice.
twice.
I wouldn't know, it wasn't.
You know, you guys gotta live south of the tracks.
You're on the wrong side of town.
We need to
Before the substation is in there, we always had power and the rest of the town went out, so it flipped.
Oh, that's
I
true,
heard the
I was
problem
always
was
dead on my side
rectified
of town.
was-
But that's not part of the unassigned too.
Generator?
So we can have discussion on.
Yeah.
Yes, just to make you aware of it, that we have plenty of projects we can use it
make a
for.
decision to make a list.
Yes.
Yes,
So we need to make a list.
yes, and I think that's important with
Do we
it, but
need a motion to have that go out, or can you just do that interdepartmentally and have it come back?
As far as that.
Who can
wish
request?
We're gonna be talking capital projects.
Right, and we
Couple
gotta
months
see what the,
anyway.
what the
And that's what
parking
it
lot
is,
comes
yeah.
in at too. So,
So,
we'll know
yeah.
that in 2 weeks, we'll know before the
When
next
if we
finance
motion
meeting.
to repair the parking lot, we can add that into the motion.
Yeah.
We should be able to.
The
fix that
speed sign
second.
is, I didn't, you know, when Dennis put that
Oh,
on
God,
his
yeah.
capital plan or not. I don't
Might
know
as well at
whether or
that
not,
point in
you
time,
know,
but yeah, there's
Something
definitely,
to consider.
Well, with that, we can bring that up at a later time,
Yeah,
because we'll have unused wages.
Okay.
okay. Yeah, we get her done. Okay,
Okay.
all right,
all right,
do good.
that's all there is on that.
Any other questions, comments on the funds? No? Okay. Ordinance 53-8 update. This came from the mayor. Ordinance
What did we fix?
53 didn't match what our purchasing policy read.
Right.
The ordinance restricted them to $500 or purchasing policy. It was $2,500. This is just bringing the ordinance into compliance with our purchasing policy. And the next question I have is, do we need this ordinance? Do you have any purchasing policy?
But it's in our code book, it's in our E-code, so I would think so. I don't know why we would
Didn't have a
remove
purchasing
it.
policy before.
I
Correct.
don't know if we had a purchasing policy when this was.
So this just gives you one snippet, and then we have an entire policy
have
to
an
do with
entire
purchasing,
policy.
so I think we just leave that in. That's my opinion, just leave that in.
Really?
Yeah. In the ordinance.
There's a whole lot more to what that
Yeah.
first paragraph of the purchasing policy says.
Oh, the
than
policy.
What this ordinance covers.
Right. And you can reference the policy in
That's-
here.
And I think that would be a
That
change I
would
would
be,
Yes.
if you were making a change, that's what I would do, is just reference the policy.
However you want it to be, I just knew this had to be changed.
Because the policy doesn't necessarily have to be the E-code, correct?
No,
So then it makes it easier to manage going forward if we decide to change the
Big book.
policy. No?
It doesn't state anything, a lot of this
Yeah,
stuff
yes.
is referencing state statutes, and this one doesn't.
I'm not sure we did the whole thing.
If the
Fine.
policy is,
The chapter 53 is finance and taxation, that's the
Right.
entire chapter.
very chewy.
So we have, yeah, we got all kinds of the tax roll, budgets, I mean, we got everything in here, fiscal year, blah, 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 blah.
She reads this on her spare
I do,
time.
I do.
I have to admit, I probably went through it.
Because we got the approval of claims, we got the purchases, we got the payments. You know, and if you just want to just change the section to say refer to the purchasing policy, you can, I don't have a problem with that, I just know this was wrong, this 500,
Right.
that has to be changed.
I think that would be my recommendation, because we can change the policy. We're gonna change purchasing policy.
You don't wanna have to go back and change that.
You don't have to change it.
I don't wanna have to go back and
Right.
change this
That's fine.
every time we do that.
I agree 100%.
So we can just put, our change to this ordinance would be referred to the purchasing policy? That would be the total language?
We can, yeah, so if, and then all I would do is just tell Jeannie just to send this to Bill, just to make sure that that's legit, that
Okay.
we can do all that.
To make sure the policy covers what we need to cover.
Correct. I think they might have, I think you did that.
There's so little in here, I can't see it how it wouldn't.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
but we don't know if we're missing something either.
Understood.
Okay, so C, purchasing, policy, and just check with Bill.
Yeah.
I can do that. Or I'll let Jeannie do that, or I'll let Ronna do that, whoever wants
Is
to.
there a motion?
I'll make
He's
that
on
motion.
speed dial with Bill.
Right,
And then I don't think we need to see it again if Bill doesn't object.
right, it can just go to.
Right to
council.
council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will
Second that motion?
Yeah,
Have a
I will
motion
second.
from Laird, seconded by Cool, to refer ordinance 53-8 to the city attorney for update. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Anything else you have? I saw an email that you sent out in reference to our agendas. All the little
Yep.
What?
corrections to the agendas or amendments? to the
Yeah, and I had a
agendas?
question on agendas, I don't know if it is directly related, but I sent something to Jean about,
I copy.
a lot of others approve the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, like if there's changes in the order or things need to be added rather than, but you have to be careful on that, correct?
He
On what you
just
do.
said that it's not common, the guy from the league called me back, that's what I sent it to, and he said, it's not very common to do that at the beginning, you can if you want, but it's not a statute.
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay.
So all I'm gonna tell you is if you want to rearrange how we do our agendas, then we have to update it in there,
I
because
think it
that's
just
what's
needs to
in
be
there.
cleaned up as to when there are updates, because I think they are putting the date that they updated when I call and say, this is what I want on the agenda, or I call, and this is before the agenda is actually
Printed.
published.
Yeah,
And I don't think we need revision dates
no,
before the agenda is actually published,
no, only if it's
No.
after.
only
Right.
after it's published.
Only after.
And you don't
But-
publish
but
it until it's been
I'm like
approved.
weeks away from my new agenda
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
so.
So
Okay.
let's wait.
Have you
Yeah.
seen
Okay.
it, or
Yeah, I've
started
been in
working on
class
it?
all this week in training. I've
And
been,
Sarah will be too.
there's a lot of levels to it, so.
So is there anything like revision notifications,
Yes.
like in Office, you can do that, like if you revise something?
It's a drop down that you choose from, and then you can say if it's final, if it's draft final, if it's final, if it's a revision draft, if it's a revision final.
So does it send out, can you have like subscribers to that, like let's say our email addresses could be subscribed to the changes that are done to the agenda?
So that we can notice right away.
Right, rather than us having to go and check.
Everybody would get noticed.
You do that now. If there's a revision, we get an email, don't we?
Not
No,
necessarily.
I don't
No,
think I
I
do.
just put the new one in there typically, if it's after the weekend, I just put it in there on a
Or
Monday.
maybe I just see.
Right, but if I go in there, and I've said this before, if I go in there
It
Sunday
change-
night and print it off
And
and
then Monday it changes and you don't
Monday
know
it
it.
changes and I get to the meeting, it's like, oh, I
Right.
didn't get that.
Right.
Yep.
And that would solve it if there was a way to subscribe. I know.
You guys will have to, you'll have a lot more interaction with the agenda.
Good.
You'll sign off on things on it, and you can look at it, but you can add subscribers to it. I just have to understand what that looks like, because it's different than MailChimp, so I have to make sure that we can do it as we used to do it. We still, but I think I can give them a list, the guy said today, and they will
Yes,
put it
right.
in for us.
Great.
Yeah, and then we can talk about the order and all that.
Any questions I can help out with it, because I deal with that kind of mailing.
Yeah, there might
Just
be,
mailing.
it's only when it comes to getting it onto our website, I'm not sure how that works. So, but they said it's not a hard process.
Good. Good to
We do
hear.
it all the time, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
As far as announcements, well,
Announcements?
is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I told you about my view, so I'll help you or whatever on that. We are setting up CPR training for any of the employees that want to do that, through the fire department. So, list for that, so, everybody seems to be pretty happy about the ones that, like the library, training on the, is it called the DFib? Is that what that is? Or that, so we're doing that. Empower is coming in, if you haven't seen the emails, Empower, who handles our deferred comp and Roth, is coming in on June 11th to do some one-on-one. I set that up, so I'll sign up for that stuff, coming up soon, so yeah, a few things. That's it.
Sounds interesting.
Looking at the calendar, it looks like we've almost wiped out
May,
May already, so.
Well,
is
but
there
April,
any-
what did we do 5312? Did we do that, review of debt schedules and debt refunding opportunities?
We haven't done the review of the debt schedule yet, so I'll have to do that on the next one.
Yeah, we're in April.
Do that next month?
Yeah, we'll put that on the May.
That'd be good, because then we'll be
Yeah.
going into.
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah. I need to update that one
Such
as
a happy
well,
person
so.
moving the budget.
So, I mean, do we even, is April the wrong time to do it? Should it just be part of May anyway?
I would say, because after we're doing the
After the
audit,
audit?
yeah,
Yeah.
I would think that
So
that was.
update that, just get
And
that
then the
moved.
resolution is down in May, the carryover, and we did that in April.
Okay.
But
We'll look at that and just tweak it.
Well, I'll
so
talk to
it's right.
Justin
Yeah.
on that,
Yeah.
because he's gonna chat with me on doing that, so we might
Good.
have to revamp that.
Sure,
So,
no problem.
but yeah, we're doing pretty good on the schedule.
Okay. For a motion to adjourn.
Cool, so motion.
Taking all the drugs for my cold makes me thirsty, and then it makes me.
Thomas will second. Thomas, you adjourned, did you have?
No,
You don't have to.
No.
You haven't taken a vote yet.
no, I was just waiting for a pause to second.
Oh, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Smoke them if you got it.